Post-secondary students heading back to campus this year might have found it a little easier to find a place to rent. Several universities reduced housing waitlists this summer, and internet searches for housing units near schools are substantially lower than in years past. So local property owners in cities like Kingston and Surrey say that they are now sometimes struggling to fill the units. They're pointing to recent changes to international student caps as one possible explanation. Joining us this morning from Ottawa on what this could mean for Canadian rental markets is Mike Moffat, Senior Director of Policy and Innovation at the Smart Prosperity Institute. Welcome back to your morning.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So Canada made several changes, we know, to the international student system recently. And as a reminder, the government capped the number of international students at 360,000 for 2024. And they raised the amount of money that they have to access from $10,000 to $20,000. So they doubled it. Could these changes be having this immediate impact on the rental market? Is that why we're seeing more empty units?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down to supply and demand. We have some additional housing supply that has been built over the last year, but the demand for those units is down significantly, particularly at Ontario community colleges because of this cap in the number of international students. What we're hearing from colleges is that we may not even hit this cap. So we've had a reduction in the number of international students of over 100,000 or more. And in many communities, that's going to really ease the pressure on rental markets. We saw rents go up 10, 15, 20% some summers because schools had massively increased enrollments without creating any new housing spaces. And this is basically starting to unwind that enrollments are down and rents are going down too because of it.
Yeah, at its most extreme in cities, at least like Toronto, there were students who were using the shelter system in order to have somewhere to live, at least for the first part of their semester. The Canadian housing crisis is a huge, multifaceted issue. We know this. What other factors could be at play?
Well, I think we have a weaker economy this year than in past years, so that might be playing a role. We have reduced population growth from other areas like temporary foreign workers. So again, it comes back to this kind of supply and demand type dynamic. But again, it's leading to reductions in rents. It's leading to a reduction of the number of students living in very unsustainable conditions. There's been stories in Brampton, for instance, 25 international students living in one 3-bedroom home. I'm hopeful that with these changes, we can get back to a sense of normalcy so people aren't living in shelters and people aren't living in these overcrowded conditions.
When we look long term, what could this mean in terms of rental prices? Could we see this trend move rents downward to a more affordable scale?
Yeah, I'm certainly hopeful. And, we should note that this isn't, the same everywhere. We are still seeing rents go up in many markets, Guelph, Ontario is being one of them. But absolutely, if the federal government continues to lower this cap, while at the same time encouraging universities and colleges to build more student housing, I think we can really ease the pressure on these markets and return to the rents of, say, 3 or 4 years ago, which were still pretty high. But when you have places like in London, rental units near Fanshawe College, the rents have doubled on those in the last 5 years or so. So it would be, it's going to take quite a bit to get those rents back down to more reasonable levels. When
we look at the data from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, we see that rental demand once again outpaced supply in 2023, with the vacancy rate reaching a new low of 1.5%. So what could this phenomenon in student units indicate about the trends for Canadian rental prices in general?
Yeah, I think all of these rental units kind of compete with each other, that there are a number of renters who can decide whether or not they want to live in a student neighborhood or a different neighborhood. So this change will affect the rental market in total. And hopefully we can return back to sort of a normal vacancy rate, which is somewhere between about 3% and 6%. If we could do that, then those pressures that have caused rents to go up so much over the last few years should withdraw. And we'll have rents kind of across the board, either flat or declining, which would be good news for renters.
Yeah, sure would. Mike Moffat, have a great weekend. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.